Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to be heard. Talk louder, move faster, post more, prove something. But what if I told you that real strength doesn't make noise? Real focus doesn't need applause. Let me tell you something. You don't need to tell the world your plans. Just work. You don't need to explain yourself to people who don't even understand your vision. Just move. You don't need validation from the crowd. You validate yourself by being consistent when no one is watching. See, the thing is, the world respects results, not noise, not excuses, not announcements, results. And those don't come from talking. They come from silence, from discipline, from sacrifice. When you focus only on yourself, you stop competing with others. You stop trying to match their pace, their path, their timeline. You start building something real at your own speed, in your own way. You give yourself the space to grow, to fail, to rise again. And you do it quietly. Let your silence be your strategy. Let your success make the noise. They don't need to know what you're doing. They'll see it when it's done. So stay grounded, stay locked in, stay humble. Focus only on yourself and stay silent. We live in a time where silence is misunderstood. It's mistaken for weakness, for uncertainty, for lack of ambition. But in truth, silence is one of the most powerful tools you can possess. When you operate in silence, you shift the focus from noise to substance. You stop performing for others and start building for yourself. Power doesn't come from talking about what you're going to do. It comes from doing it without asking for permission, without begging for applause. Every time you speak, every time you explain yourself, every time you react, you give a piece of your power away. You give others a chance to judge, interrupt, misunderstand, or even manipulate your intentions. But when you remain silent, you hold your power close. You become unpredictable, unreadable, and unshakable. No one can prepare for your next move if they don't know what you're planning. Silence becomes your shield and your strategy. Silence forces you inward. It pulls you back into yourself, into a place where clarity lives. When you're not speaking, you're listening to your thoughts, your instincts, your purpose, your instincts, your purpose. You become more aware of who you are and less concerned with who they think you are. That's where confidence is born, not in what others tell you, but in what you know about yourself, in the quiet moments when nobody's watching. In silence, your energy stays pure. Talking too much spreads it thin. Every time you feel the need to explain, defend, or impress, you're leaking energy. But silence keeps it tight, controlled, concentrated. It lets your actions carry the weight. It teaches you patience. And in patience, there is power, because not everything requires your reaction. Not every insult needs a reply. Not every challenge needs a response. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay still and stay quiet. People underestimate the quiet ones. They think silence means you're not capable, not confident, not ready. Let them make their assumptions. Let them guess. That misunderstanding becomes an advantage, because while they're talking, you're working. While they're doubting, you're building. And by the time they realize what you've done, it's already too late for them to catch up. Your silence wasn't a weakness. It was a warning they didn't hear. This doesn't mean you don't have a voice. It means you know when to use it. Silence is not the absence of power. It's the control of it. It's understanding that not everything deserves your attention. And it's realizing that the more you talk, the more you dilute your message. When you speak only when it matters, people listen. They feel the weight of your words because they know you don't waste them. Powerful people don't brag. They don't boast. They don't over-explain. They move in silence, not because they have nothing to say, but because what they're doing says enough. Their results, their consistency, their presence, those speak louder than anything they could ever post, tweet, or shout. You can feel their focus in the room before they even speak a word. Silence gives you control in a noisy world. It gives you space to think, to sharpen your tools, to build without interference. And most of all, it gives you peace. Because when you stop trying to be seen or heard by everyone, you free yourself to be guided by something deeper, something more solid than likes, comments, or opinions. Focus is a personal journey, not a public performance. When you begin to truly focus on yourself, you realize how much of your energy has been spent looking outward, comparing, competing, analyzing what others are doing, what they have, and where they're going. But none of that belongs to you. Their path is not your path. Their timing is not your timing. The more you lock in on what's outside of you, the more you lose touch with what's inside of you. Focus demands that you turn away from the noise and tune into your own frequency. When you're focused on yourself, the competition disappears. You start to understand that life isn't a race, it's a process, and processes require patience, not pressure. You can't rush growth by looking at someone else's results. Their success doesn't threaten yours. Their wins don't diminish your potential. When you stop watching others, you stop chasing what's not meant for you. You begin to build what's real, what's true, and what's aligned with your own purpose. Distractions come dressed in many forms. They look like trends, like opportunities, like comparisons. But their purpose is always the same: to pull your attention away from your work, from your process, from your development. Focus is about discipline. It's about recognizing what deserves your time and what doesn't. And most of the time, what others are doing does not deserve your time. Not because they don't matter, but because your growth depends on staying present with yourself. The hardest part about focusing on yourself is letting go of the need to be seen, liked, or validated by others. It's easy to get caught in the loop of trying to impress people who aren't even paying attention to your journey. But when you focus inward, you stop performing. You stop proving. You start doing the work not for recognition, but for results. You start measuring your progress by how far you've come, not by how far someone else seems to be. To focus only on yourself means you have to get honest. You have to face your own habits, your own patterns, your own distractions, and that's not easy. It's easier to scroll, to compare, to criticize. But focus demands self-awareness. It asks you to sit with your flaws and still move forward. It asks you to build your own structure, your own pace, your own goals, regardless of what the world is telling you to chase. Focusing on yourself means you understand that your greatest competition is your own comfort zone. It's not about beating anyone else. It's about becoming better than who you were yesterday. That's where true fulfillment comes from. Not from winning the comparison game, but from knowing that you stayed locked in when it would have been easier to quit. From knowing that you chose your own growth over someone else's attention. When you make yourself the center of your focus, everything else starts to shift. Your confidence rises, not because others believe in you, but because you believe in the path you're walking. Your habits change, not because someone's watching, but because you know the work is necessary. And your mindset strengthens not because life got easier, but because your attention got sharper. There's freedom in choosing yourself, not in a selfish way, but in a disciplined way, in a focused way. You begin to realize that nothing outside of you can give you peace if you haven't built it within yourself. So you stop chasing, you stop competing, and you stop explaining. You focus fully, deeply, and unapologetically on your own journey, and everything else becomes background noise. Discipline is the foundation of everything real. It's not glamorous. It doesn't get likes, applause, or attention. But it's the quiet engine behind every long-term success. When you choose discipline over display, you're choosing substance over style. You're deciding that who you become matters more than how you appear. That the work you put in behind closed doors is more important than the image you project to the world. That's a rare decision in a time when everything is about being seen. There's a pressure today to show progress even before it's real, to post the grind, to talk about the hustle, to present the appearance of success before you've even built the foundation for it. But discipline doesn't seek attention. It just shows up every day, no matter how you feel, no matter who's watching. Discipline isn't for the spotlight. It's for the long nights, the early mornings, the quiet hours when no one is around to clap for you. That's where real transformation begins. When you commit to discipline, you're not waiting to feel motivated. You don't need inspiration. You move because you made a decision, because you set a standard, because you gave yourself a direction and refused to veer off course. Motivation is temporary, excitement fades, but discipline is the muscle that keeps you going when everything else says stop. It's the voice that says do it anyway. Display, on the other hand, is easy, it's tempting, it's addictive, it's the moment where you show people a version of yourself that you think they'll admire. But it's often hollow, because behind the scenes there's no structure, no consistency, no repetition of the small daily actions that create actual results. Display without discipline is performance without depth. It's loud but empty. Discipline asks you to delay gratification, to say no to distractions, to short-term pleasure, to comfort. It asks you to do what's necessary, not what's convenient. That means putting in the work when no one is cheering you on. That means staying committed when progress is slow, when nobody sees your effort, when it feels like nothing's changing. Because discipline understands that growth happens in inches, not in leaps. That consistency beats intensity every single time. You don't need to show the world everything. You need to show up for yourself every day, quietly, relentlessly. That's where the real work is. That's where your character is for. Not in the posts or the captions or the curated moments, but in the repetition of doing what needs to be done, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when it's invisible. People will often mistake your silence for a lack of progress. Let them. Because discipline isn't loud, it's internal. It doesn't seek validation because it already knows the value of the process. You're not doing it for applause. You're doing it for growth, for mastery, for something that lasts beyond the moment. Discipline requires you to hold yourself accountable when no one else will. It means showing integrity to your own goals, your own timeline, your own mission. It means you're not performing for an audience. You're building something real for yourself. That's the difference between the ones who burn out and the ones who last. Between the ones who look successful and the ones who are successful. You don't need to explain your routine. You don't need to showcase your every move. What matters is the work no one sees. The habits, the rituals, the structure that keeps you locked in. While others chase attention, you choose alignment. While others need recognition, you build resilience. Because you understand that every display fades, but discipline leaves a legacy. Talk is easy. It doesn't cost anything to say what you're going to do, to make plans out loud, to promise results that haven't been earned yet. But words don't move mountains. Words don't build legacies. Words don't create outcomes. It's action that carries weight. It's execution that delivers proof. Results are the only real evidence of your effort, your discipline, your vision. You can talk all day about your goals, but if there's no result behind them, they become just noise in the wind. People listen when there's something to see. You can try to convince the world of your potential, but nothing convinces like performance. Nothing commands respect like a job well done. You don't need to argue when you've already delivered. You don't need to persuade when your results do it for you. That's the power of silence paired with execution. By the time you speak, your work has already spoken louder. Everyone wants to be understood. Everyone wants others to believe in their path, to support their dreams, to see their worth. But the truth is, people rarely buy into words. They respond to what you produce. They look at what you've built, what you've accomplished, what you've overcome. That's what earns trust. That's what earns respect. It's not about how well you describe your journey. It's about how consistently you move forward in it. When you focus too much on talking about the process, you lose time actually doing the process. There's a real cost to over-explaining, oversharing, and over-promising. It pulls your energy away from execution. It distracts you from the one thing that actually creates progress, action. Every second spent trying to convince someone is a second not spent becoming someone. And in the end, only the becoming counts. Letting results speak means embracing patience. It means you're willing to stay quiet long enough to build something real. You're not rushing to show off early wins. You're not eager to prove yourself with half-finished projects. You know that solid outcomes take time, and you're willing to wait. You're willing to let your work mature in silence until it's undeniable. Because once it is, no one can ignore it, no matter how quiet your journey has been. This mindset also protects you from the distractions of doubt and outside opinion. When you stop feeling the need to prove yourself with words, you stop giving power to other people's judgments. You no longer need their belief in your vision. You just need to stay focused on executing it. Because when the results come, they answer every question. They silence every critic. They validate every choice you made in the dark. Results are also honest. They don't lie. They reflect what you've actually done, not what you intended to do. That's why they matter. They keep you accountable. They don't care about your story. They care about your follow-through. You can either produce or you can explain, but you can't do both forever. Eventually, your results, or lack of them, will tell the truth. There is something powerful about being the one who doesn't talk much, but always delivers. That person is rare. That person is respected because they've mastered what so many overlook, that results are a language of their own. They need no translation. They need no introduction. When you consistently show up, put in the work, and stay aligned with your purpose, your output will do the talking. It will walk into rooms before you do. It will make statements louder than anything you could say. Growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the quiet, private corners of your life where nobody is watching, where there's no applause, no recognition, and no audience. That's where the real transformation begins, away from the noise, away from the performance, away from the pressure to show your progress before it's ready. Privacy gives your growth a safe place to breathe, to stumble, to adjust, and to evolve without judgment or interference. When you protect your journey, you give yourself the space to fully engage with it. Too often, people reveal their plans too early. They talk about their goals before they've taken the first step. They share their dreams hoping to be encouraged, hoping someone will validate the direction they're heading. But the truth is, when you expose your vision too soon, you invite opinions that can cloud it. You let in doubt, questions, and energy that can interfere with the clarity of your mission. Not everyone needs to know what you're building. Not everyone deserves access to your process. Privacy isn't about being secretive, it's about being intentional. It means you're choosing to prioritize growth over approval. You're not chasing validation, you're chasing results. It means you understand the importance of the early stages, the messy stages, where nothing looks impressive yet, but everything important is happening. The roots of your success are formed in silence. They need protection. They need patience. They need time to go deep before anything can grow high. There's a vulnerability that comes with growth. You're trying, learning, failing, and trying again. When you do that in front of too many eyes, it becomes harder to stay true to yourself. You start performing instead of progressing. You start choosing what looks good over what actually works. Privacy lets you keep the process honest. It lets you make mistakes without the fear of being judged for them. It gives you permission to grow at your own pace without outside expectations pulling you off track. The more you keep to yourself, the more energy you keep for yourself. Growth requires focus, and focus gets fractured when you're constantly thinking about how things appear. When you're too busy managing perception, you lose sight of reality. But when you operate in private, you're free from the pressure to impress. You're not driven by outside timelines. You're not influenced by what others think you should be doing. You're fully present in your own lane, guided by your own inner compass. Privacy also teaches discipline. When nobody's watching, there's no one to impress. That's when your habits are tested. That's when you find out how committed you really are. Can you still show up when there's no feedback? Can you still stay consistent when nobody's giving you credit? Can you still believe in yourself when no one else knows what you're building? That's the kind of discipline that creates something unshakable. That's the kind of mindset that doesn't need to be seen to stay strong. You learn to protect your peace when you move in silence. You learn to protect your progress. Not every conversation needs to be shared. Not every goal needs to be announced. Sometimes the best thing you can do is keep your mouth closed and your head down. Focus on the work. Build quietly. Move with intention. Let your growth be your secret weapon. Let your progress develop behind the scenes until it's too strong to be ignored. When the time is right, your results will reveal everything you kept quiet about. Until then, protect it. Keep it close. Let it breathe in peace. Staying grounded is one of the most overlooked strengths in a world that constantly pushes people to chase more, do more, and be more in front of everyone. There's a quiet confidence in being rooted, in knowing who you are without needing to announce it, in walking your path without looking over your shoulder to see who's watching. Being grounded means your self-worth isn't tied to attention. It isn't tied to how loud you are or how much approval you can gather. It comes from a steady place inside you that doesn't rise or fall with outside noise. To be grounded is to be unmoved by distractions. It's choosing purpose over performance, choosing consistency over hype. It's the ability to stay locked in on what matters to you, even when the world is trying to pull you in every direction. You don't chase every trend. You don't need to react to every opinion. You don't waste your energy explaining yourself to people who aren't even listening. You just keep doing the work. You stay rooted in the process. And in doing so, you become solid in a way that others can feel. Staying humble doesn't mean downplaying your worth. It means knowing your worth so deeply that you don't have to prove it. You understand that respect is earned over time through how you carry yourself, how you treat people, and how you respond to success. Humility is quiet strength. It's power under control. It's confidence without arrogance. It allows you to celebrate your wins without making them someone else's losses. It lets you rise without forgetting where you started. The combination of being grounded and humble gives you longevity. Loud success can be temporary. When you build your identity on applause, you become addicted to it. You need it to feel valuable, and when it stops, you start to doubt yourself. But when you stay grounded, your value isn't based on what others give you. It's based on what you've built within. That kind of foundation doesn't crack under pressure. It doesn't collapse when recognition fades. A grounded person doesn't need to dominate conversations. They don't need to be the center of every room. Their presence speaks for them. Their work speaks for them. The way they carry themselves says enough. They move with quiet discipline, knowing that they're building something real. They're not chasing attention. They're chasing alignment. And because of that, they often go further than those who rely on being seen to feel successful. Staying humble also protects you from complacency. It reminds you that no matter how far you've come, there's still more to learn. It keeps your ego in check so you remain a student of your craft. You don't get blinded by your own progress. You stay open to growth. You stay willing to do the small things well, even when no one notices. That's the mark of someone who isn't just chasing moments. They're building mastery. When you stay grounded and humble, you don't get thrown off by criticism or inflated by praise. You keep your balance. You know who you are and where you're going, and you don't need outside voices to confirm it. That steadiness is what makes you dangerous in the best way. While others burn out trying to impress, you keep growing in silence. You don't flash every move, but every move has purpose. You don't need to talk about your next step because your track record speaks clearly. You're not trying to be everywhere, just exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you were meant to do. So stay grounded, stay locked in, stay humble, focus only on yourself, and stay silent.